I'm Mike Uyak. I love to try new things, and I've had culinary adventures all around the world as well as right at home. I've had really wonderful food, as well as some really horrible food. I'd like to share some of my adventures with you, and we'll see if I have what it takes to fix whatever goes wrong. This is Recipe Redemption. Greetings, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Recipe Redemption. I'm feeling a little under the weather, and so right now is probably not a good idea to eat anything weird. So while I'm basically on a bread and water diet, I thought it was a good time to get some of these videos out of the way where I don't actually need to cook or eat anything. I've seen lots of product review videos on YouTube and across the internet in general, and they seem like fun. I haven't really done too many of them, mostly because one, uh, I'm kind of with Alton Brown. I like functional equipment, preferably multitasker equipment, um, to save on storage space and to get the most bang for my buck. So I don't like a lot of gadgets in my kitchen if I can help it. The very basic stuff that can do multiple things that have been used for multiple things for centuries in cooking are generally good enough. And it's only when something is really, really revolutionary, paradigm changing, game changer, that I'll consider buying some new kitchen gadget or kitchen equipment or tool. Um, and second of all, I don't have a whole lot of money. So again, I don't want to waste money as well as space, but I don't want to just buy a whole bunch of crap just to make a video off it. Now, a lot of the channels that do buy a whole bunch of crap to do videos, they actually make money from their videos. I don't yet. You can change that. But for the moment, I don't make any money out of this. So it's all my own money. I'm not going to buy a whole bunch of crap. And my issue is I can't. It's hard for me to get rid of because I'm cheap. So if I buy something and it turns out to be crap, I feel bad about just throwing it away because I just spent good money on it and it doesn't work very well. And because it's crap, I feel bad about donating it to a thrift store or something because that's just foisting something useless on some other unsuspecting person. So I like to really, really consider a purchase and determine if it's going to be something that I'm actually going to use and see if it's actually going to work as advertised before I buy it. So I look at a lot of the reviews of the people have written, etc., etc. And I still get burnt sometimes, but generally speaking, I spend a lot of time researching something before I buy it. I highly suggest that you do that too. But I ran across this article online, um, and it was surprisingly affordable kitchen gadgets that whatever that will change your life or whatever. And I kind of looked through these. It was a listicle, and so but it was all stuff that's available on Amazon right now, so it can be delivered right to your door. And I thought, what the heck? Let's just have a look. And I wanted to talk about some of them. So let's get on that. And the whole thing is some of the things that I like to look at critically before buying things that I think might be useful for you too. Just my thought process. Totally my opinion. And because I haven't actually tried many of these products, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's a total game changer and it'll save you hours and hours of effort in the kitchen, easy to clean, etc., etc., etc. But generally speaking, um, A lot of them, it's pretty easy to tell that it's crap. Or even if it does what it says it does, you really don't need it. So let's get started. Let's start with the color changing cup man, made from a temperature sensitive plastic. This changes color from blue to white to let you know when your cup of instant ramen is done. Seriously? The instructions on most cup soups tell you to pour boiling water in, up to the line, wait for 2 minutes before enjoying. Is that too difficult for you? The bent shape of this device means it's awkward to store, even though it's relatively small. And honestly, I can't even say what I'm thinking right now. Here we have the EasyPod vegetable steamer. It's a silicone bowl with tabs that allow it to sort of seal on top, so you can microwave vegetables and keep most of the steam inside. Since most silicone kitchen devices are supposedly heat resistant up to 600 Fahrenheit, they also say this can be used to roast and bake with. You just seal it at the top the same way as you would for the vegetables and place directly into a hot oven. Jury's out on this one. It doesn't seal tight, so although it might redirect some steam back toward the food, a lot is still going to escape. So you're really steaming vegetables in a microwave full of steam, just like if you had placed a regular microwave-safe bowl full of vegetables in there. It's an interesting idea. I'd love to test it, but I'm dubious. Next, may I present to you the Egg Cuber, for those times when you really need a square egg, like when... Well, honestly, I don't recall a time when I wanted a square egg, but this will make one for you. Just pop a freshly boiled and peeled egg into the box and stick it in the fridge for 10 minutes for it to fully set. I guess if you're having a Minecraft party, it would be funny to have cube-shaped deviled eggs, but otherwise, I don't know. Speaking of eggs of specific shapes, there's a set of silicone egg rings for sale that might actually be useful. They're touted as a means to get perfectly circular eggs when making breakfast English muffin sandwiches, but you could use these molds for about anything you wanted in a ring shape and about 3 inches in diameter, and unlike traditional steel ring molds, the flexibility of these silicone models makes it a little easier to get stubbornly sticky stuff out of them. I'd give them a try if I had a need for ring molds, which comes about maybe every 5 or 6 years or so. Here we have the Veggie Chop hand-powered food chopper. It's got a pull strength that you can't see in this photo that makes it work kind of like a salad spinner. It's another in a long line of kitchen gadgets that attempts to replace good knife skills. Yes, it's potentially faster than doing it with a knife, but the end product is far less predictable. It's just like an electric food processor in that you have no real control over the sizes of all the bits. You could have some bigger chunks that escape the blade, or if you keep it going until all the pieces are below a certain size, some that were cut right from the beginning may now just be paste. It's far better to just develop good knife skills. Dishwasher magnets. Okay, this is not what you'd call a game changer, but if you live in a household with more than one other person and you all periodically take on the chore of doing some of the dishes, you need some way to communicate that the dishes have or have not been washed recently. So while this isn't useless, I'm sure you could come up with a way to deliver the same message without buying a product. A little flag or a little sign or a sock on the doorknob. Here we have the Zoku Ice Cream Maker Bowl. A frozen bowl, you keep it in the freezer, and you pour your ice cream mix into it and scrape with a little plastic spatula or spoon until it fully freezes into a single serving of ice cream. My main issue with this idea is that it doesn't really churn the ice cream, so it doesn't incorporate as much air, which would give it that smooth mouthfeel you're looking for. Since you're just letting a layer of the mix freeze to the inner surface of this bowl and then scraping it off, it's more like you're making a creamy granite rather than ice cream, and it means you're putting about 10 minutes of work into that bowl of ice cream. Get yourself an ice cream maker and just be done with it. There are better ways to get an upper body workout. Moving on, we have the Fasta Pasta Microwave Pasta Cooker. Claims to eliminate boil over and perfectly cook up to 8 ounces of pasta in the microwave. I'm not sure how it eliminates boil over, but I'd be willing to try it. My only issue is that because it's in the microwave,
You can't stir it, which I tend to do to ensure the pasta doesn't stick to itself and come out of the pot as a single starchy mass. And timing is an issue because different people have different wattage microwaves, so you're going to reach the boiling point at different times and rates. So how long do you cook it for to get perfect pasta if you can't stir it and it's got a lid so you can't see if it's getting close to boiling? And different pastas take different amounts of time because their shapes make water absorption different. So how do I make orzo if the instructions are specific to spaghetti? I think you're going to go through a lot of pasta before you get that dialed in. So I wanted to take a moment to give honorable mention to some of the products that I didn't bother to review because they're just kitschy. I think they work just fine, but they're kind of novelty items like these polar bear oven mitts, the dinosaur pasta scoop, things like this. You just need to look at them and say, okay, do they do the job that they're supposed to do? Here's a cheese grater in the shape of a taco for specifically for Taco Tuesday, I guess. Do they actually work, and do you need them in your life? Do you actually have to have a specific little cup for your dip that clips to the edge of your plate? Do you need it or not? And is it fun? Then go ahead and get it. But otherwise, you don't really need it. Though admittedly, these blue jean muffin top silicone muffin cups are pretty cute. I gotta admit that. Moving on, we have the Salby microwave popcorn maker. Now, most microwave popcorn that you buy from the store comes drenched in fake butter flavor and salt. So something that allows you to make your popcorn in the microwave and choose to add the seasoning or flavoring that you want in the amount that you want is a great idea. It says it collapses for easy and convenient storage, so I'd have to try this to see just how convenient it really is. As an alternative, you could look up Alton Brown's solution for home microwave popcorn. It involves a paper bag. I have an air popper, which works just fine, and I use it often enough that I don't mind too much that I have to find a place to store it. But this might be a solution for somebody. And next we have the Obsessive Chef Bamboo Cutting Board. If you want precision cuts and perfectly measured prep on your ingredients, this may be the cutting board for you.
Say definitively that I don't personally want this because my style of food prep is more bash and chop than measure and slice. So I only get this if I was in cooking school and wanted to cheat while doing a brunoise of carrot. But this might be useful if you're really into fancy presentation and actually need accurate, consistent cuts on fruits and vegetables. And it's easier than measuring with a ruler before making each cut. So I'd rate this as useful if you need such a thing.
This little device is a leaf stripper. It has gauged holes that allow you to pull a stem through the stripper and neatly tear the tender leaves off. Also claims to work on stemmy herbs like rosemary.
I have doubts. Even just trying to carefully tear kale from the stems by hand, I end up snapping the stem halfway along about half the time. So I can't imagine this solves that problem. You're just pulling it through and hoping that it shears everything off neatly, and I get the feeling it's not going to.
Set of pickle forks with a handy elastic ring that goes around the neck of the jar so you always have a pickle fork around whenever you want to pluck a pickle.
Do you really need a dedicated pickle fork to pick a pickle out of the pickle jar? The answer is no, but that was fun to say.
Lodge cast iron skillet. It's interesting this made it onto a list of gadgets. This is not a gadget. This is not a gimmick. You could use this every day in so many ways. Yes, cast iron requires a bit of maintenance, but if you keep it up, it'll be a joy to use and you'll have it to pass on to your grandkids. If you do a lot of cooking, you will have a use for a good cast iron skillet, and Lodge has been making them pretty much the same way for over a century, so this is a good buy. The Lacue Omelette Maker.
No. Don't. Just don't. Do not make eggs in the microwave. Do not make eggs in the microwave. Do not make eggs in the microwave. You don't get the right texture. The flavor is off. All that just to save yourself from eating a half a teaspoon less of cooking oil. You still have to wash this, so it's not like you're saving yourself from washing something after cooking. and you'd really have to convince me that this will be as satisfying as an omelet cooked in a pan.
Here we have the Norpro Corn Stripper. Come on, really? Again, learn proper knife skills and free your kitchen drawers from the oppression of gadget overload. And there's just something subtly unsavory about shaving your corn. The OXO Good Grips Flexible Scoop. I kind of like this idea. OXO does make some pretty good products. Completely unsolicited endorsement. I have not been paid to say that, but I'm certainly not opposed to it if they wanted to slide some cheddar my way. Nudge, nudge. Wink, wink. The softer end of the scoop allows you to pinch it and direct the contents into the receiving container with more accuracy, particularly useful if you're portioning protein powder into a narrow shaker bottle, for instance. It's a nice concept. I might get one to try out. Here is Ellie's reusable Bigger Better Nut Milk Bag, advertised as a convenient and responsible way to get milk out of your nuts at home. Hey, I heard that, you behave yourselves. But basically, useful for anything you'd normally use cheesecloth to strain liquids out of something that might pass through a less restrictive device, like a sieve or a colander. By making this reusable, it may save you some money in the long run if you plan to use it a lot. I don't have much use for it in my life, but I can see why someone might want one. I'll stick to cheesecloth myself. The one time I need it every 2 or 3 years, it could take me a decade to make it worth buying this bag instead. Here we have the iKeto Dumpling Maker. I've seen dumpling makers like this before, so this isn't a new thing or particularly unique, but I've also always given them some serious side-eye.
When I make wontons or pot stickers, I always seal the dumpling from one end to the other, making sure to purge out any trapped air before sealing completely. The air can expand and pop the dumpling during cooking, which obviously ruins the effect we're going for. Because this just folds the wrapper over and uniformly crimps and seals it all along its circumference, there is no opportunity to purge. Plus, if you're a big goof and overfilled the dumpling, there's no way to fix it before you've got a half-sealed dumpling with a leaking gut wound to contend with. As much as this might shave a few minutes off of my dumpling making session, I think I'll stick with just doing it by hand.
Here we have the Lacue Silicone Bread Maker. Okay, Lacue, what's the deal? This looks suspiciously like your silicone microwave vegetable steamer. The idea is attractive. When open, it's used like a mixing bowl to get your dough to come together. You can use it to proof the dough, and once you've formed your loaf and are ready to bake, you can pop this directly in the oven and bake in it. I would market this as a bread mixing and baking bowl, not a bread maker. When I think bread maker, I think of an actual machine that takes all the raw ingredients I feed it, mixes it, proofs it, and bakes it all at the press of a button. At the end of the day, this is just a flexible bowl that's oven safe. It's an interesting idea if it works, but the name is misleading to me because it doesn't take the work out of making bread. You are still the bread maker in any real sense of the words. Here we have Cutproof Gloves. Not a gimmick. Useful for situations where a slip of the hand could result in injury, and there's really no way to eliminate all of the risk, like when shucking oysters, for instance. However, most of the examples given in the Amazon listing show the home cook doing normal kitchen tasks with a knife while wearing these gloves.
Generally speaking, if you're cutting yourself while slicing a tomato, at least in my opinion, you need to practice slicing tomatoes until that doesn't happen anymore, rather than using these gloves all the time. It's like wearing a helmet everywhere because you hit your head on stuff all the time. At some point, maybe you need to learn to just look where you're going. But if you do a lot of stuff that is inherently risky, like the aforementioned oyster shucking, or slicing stuff with a mandolin and you don't have one of those slidey hand guard things, these gloves are probably a good investment.
Next up we have the Can Colander by Progressive Prep Works. Really? When you drain the liquid out of a can of something, do you lose that much stuff down the drain that you need a dedicated colander to help save that half a gram of tuna that slips by? There's a difference between being frugal and being obsessive. This is the Tefal non-stick mini cheese griddle, so you can have slightly toasty melted cheese from the stove or grill, kind of like raclette in a way, I guess. Once again, Alton Brown has shown us how to do the same thing with a little boat tray he made out of aluminum foil in his grilled cheese grilled sandwich video, but I realize that aluminum foil is typically not considered sexy. So if you just have to have a dedicated pan to bring melted cheese to the table so you can dramatically shovel it onto your guests' plates, sure. Finger tongs allows you to eat messy foods without having to continuously wipe your hands off with a napkin. I can accept the idea that it allows you to pick up really hot finger foods and thereby burn the living crap out of your mouth instead, but it's not marketed for that purpose. It's specifically so you keep your fingers clean. If you're that worried about getting sauces on your fingers, you're probably the type of person who eats finger foods with a knife and fork anyway, so are these really necessary? This stylish little number is the McGisso cake server. Cuts slices of cake and carries the slices to the plate, all in one smooth motion. Sort of. The slices end up being slightly funny in shape because of that curve, and although it's somewhat flexible, it's a little limited in the size of slice you get, especially if you buy a big cake that's larger in radius than this cake server. Again, a good knife will work fine, and if it makes life a little easier, a classic cake server will help transfer the slice to the plate. I feel like this is a solution in search of a problem. Avocado scooper. So yeah, I see what this is for and how it works, but you probably already have a device that would do the job. It's called a spoon. You should look into them. They're going to change the world. And finally for today, the microwave rice cooker. This would be a game changer if it worked. But the entire purpose of using a microwave oven is that its unique method for heating foods cooks some foods faster than on the cooktop or in a traditional cooking device. With this, you still put the rice in the colander, rinse it, place it in the outer bowl with the requisite amount of water, and you then microwave it for 50 minutes.
It's still a big bowl or device you have to store somewhere. You just don't store it on the countertop. It doesn't save you any time, and because everyone's microwave is different, individual results may vary widely. The reviews indicate you could end up with uncooked rice, or on the other end of the spectrum, a puddle of melted plastic stuck to your microwave turntable. For about twice the price of this plastic microwave cooker, you could get a decent, fuzzy logic Japanese electric cooker that turns out perfectly cooked rice every time. Or you could learn how to cook it on your stovetop, or by the pilaf method in your oven. Hey, I'm Chinese. I've got a lot to say about rice. So I think that's about it for this session. I didn't think about the fact that Amazon actually tracks all the things that you look at while you're on their site. So I'm probably going to get a month of targeted advertising from them with all sorts of gadgets. So I'm probably going to get ample fodder for the next edition of this. But for the moment, I think that's enough. I've taken up enough of your time. But if you have any ideas for gadgets that I should take a look at, review, and perhaps even try, please let me know in the comments below and make your suggestions, and it might make it into the next video. So until next time, I'd like to thank you for watching. I'm Mike Uyak, and I'll see you here again on Recipe Redemption. Thanks.